You're listening to the Hurdy Gurdy Travel Podcast. I'm your host, Justin Vacula, with how to travel the world at next to no cost through credit card sign-up bonuses, perks, and rewards. This is episode 4 with special guest Darren Remsburg. All right, thank you for joining me today, Darren.
Hey, you're welcome, Justin. Thanks for having me.
All right, I've been talking about credit cards, rewards programs in recent episodes. You've been involved with the hobby for quite a while. Can you tell us about how you got started?
Yeah, it's a great question. My wife and I enjoyed traveling quite a bit prior to having kids. We have three great daughters. They changed the way we looked at travel and certainly added quite a bit of expense. A few years ago, we were lucky enough to find a low-priced fare. Some folks called a mistake or an error fare. On Christmas Day, was Etihad from JFK to Abu Dhabi and then continuing to Johannesburg, South Africa. Mm-hmm. And it was all for the price of like $220 or something, just ridiculous round trip.
Right.
It wasn't economy. We were young and we thought this was just too good of an opportunity to pass up. Ended up finding Richard Kerr's what was originally called Award Hacking 101. And since got transformed into Word Travel 101, and Richard moved on to the Points Guy, and now Jeff Bronson runs that Facebook group. But got involved in some other Facebook groups, met some great people, learned a tremendous amount, and here 5 years later, it seems crazy to think I've been kind of doing this for 5 years, and we've been able to really travel like we would never have expected, given our other lifestyle, I guess the way to say it.
Great. And signing up for more and more cards even until this day.
I know you're a big advocate of sign-up bonuses, and I am too, Justin. I think there's tremendous value in those cards. The sign-up bonuses are really, from a bang for your buck perspective, hard to beat. I don't know how many cards I have, but it's about... if you stack them all together, it's about 3 inches tall. So a bunch, and and keep on coming.
Yes, it's a lot different than as most people do. They only have maybe 1-2 credit cards, debit card. They're using cash for everything, but you're using your credit cards to maximize your spend and get all of these wonderful rewards.
That's exactly right. One of the first cards I got was the Freedom 5% cash back. And I think, like a lot of folks early in the game, I used it for cash back. Tens of thousands of points for cash credit statement, and didn't realize until a few years later what I had done, and compared that, then to what I know you're a big Hyatt fan, how many Hyatt stays that could have been if I had transferred those Chase Freedom points to a Chase Sapphire or a preferred or referred reserve card, and then to a partner. There's really very few reasons to use cash if you're fairly good at budgeting. There's no reward for that. You can lose cash, whereas a credit card, almost any credit card, you can find some sort of angle on. Even if it's just a straight 2% cash back card with no annual fee, they're basically paying you to use their card. As long as you're, again, good at budgeting and pay your balance off every month, there's no downside.
Right. Just a little bit of effort with the organization, making sure to pay it off and prioritizing applications, right? And I tell people, just start with one card, see how it works for you, move up from there, see what happens. So as we get deeper into it, we're more used to how things work. Yeah,
I think that's a great approach, right? Get used to it. I think the other thing I would say for folks that are just starting out is to pick a goal. It could be something fairly simple. I want to earn enough cash back on my City Cash double cash card, for example, to buy a ticket to go to Las Vegas or to London or wherever. That would be a goal, and then you can work towards that, not spending more than you normally would, but directing more of your regular spend to that card. Then there are, as you know, lots of other cards out there with lots of different angles. Some, of course, the most attractive are the Chase or Amex cards that allow you to earn points that then are transferred to either hotel or airline programs, right? And so you can redeem those for hotel stays or airline programs. Of course, the City Double Cash now, I guess, fits that too. Their new ability to transfer those double cash points to thank you points and redeem on those airlines.
Right. Lots of options for everyone thinking about goals. I don't recommend just one card for everyone. It's thinking about what you want to do, what your credit scores are looking like, what your monthly spend is looking like. It's a little bit of a puzzle. So I'm happy to work with people through the credit card questionnaire on my website and in messages and elsewhere. It could be intimidating for new people to get into this, thinking about what card do I want. And unfortunately, people can make mistakes very early on by applying for bad cards, like, of course, the Apple card that got all the hype recently.
Yeah. I mean, there's a couple small plays there, but it's for most folks not going to do what you want it to do. It's not going to probably get you closer to your goal. And I appreciate what you're saying, because I was definitely somebody that made some mistakes early on in the game. Applied for some cards. This was before some of the restrictions on the cards. There was no Chase 524 at the time. Certainly no Barclays or Bank of America restrictions. So it was a little more wide open. And I did have a couple goals, and so I picked out the cards that I met those goals, and on down the road I went. And that was great. In retrospect, I probably could have applied in a different order, gotten the same cards, but would still have some of these quote unquote keeper cards that you and I talk about, right? That bring annual value year after year, versus cards that probably the biggest advantage is the sign-up bonus. And then once that's done, you're probably not going to use it, and at least not very much.
Right. And besides the sign-up bonuses, besides the categories, we see a lot of other wonderful benefits that come with credit cards. We met in Atlantic City about, 2 or 3 months ago to do the status match experience there. Absolutely.
Great experience. And late June, I think, and played a little video poker and got some free nights, and now matched to Caesar's Diamond. Looking forward to using the Caesar's Diamond celebration dinner. So my daughter is a gymnast, competes primarily locally here in the Pennsylvania region, but we'll travel out to Las Vegas for one of her meets this year, and looking forward to taking the family to the Strip and taking advantage of that $100 dinner credit one night.
Right, and that was from the status matching from the Aspire card. We matched from Hilton Diamond to Wyndham Diamond to Caesar's Diamond, and then of course the match to Hard Rock, Borgata, and Ocean, and then to Hyatt and American Airlines, all for just one card.
Yeah, really good match. So I played that a little differently. I didn't have Hilton Diamond at the time. I did have IHG Platinum from their Chase, the old Chase card, $49 annual fee, one free night a year. Wow. I figure that pretty well pays off for me. Even if it's a Holiday Inn Express, it's still more than $50 value. IHG Platinum to Hilton Diamond to Caesar's Diamond to MGM Gold to Hyatt Explorist to then American Airlines Gold, and was able to pick up a couple exit row seats on a recent trip for no cost, which was a nice. I'm a 6'2", so I'm not like one of these super tall dudes, but every little bit of leg space helps.
Right. And a lot of other deals that have come across our way too from being inside of the credit card space. So we've been able to save a lot of money on gas, groceries, a lot of everyday expenses.
As we've talked about, it's a proverbial rabbit hole, right? So you can dip your toe in and get a little experience. And well, I think I've told you before, I had a couple colleagues at work, and she was getting married, and they wanted to go to Hawaii. So I said, hey, here's what you can do. You can sign up for the Sapphire Preferred. I think they had a 80,000. I think it was an 80,000 point bonus, ultimate reward bonus at the time. Both signed up for it. And then I was going to tell them to then transfer to Korean at the time, and then they could fly round trip first class. They ended up just booking it with the Chase points with a 1.25 and an uplift, and they were perfectly happy with that. It was much easier, of course, than trying to transfer to Korean and find Korean space and all that sort of stuff. And I asked, hey, what'd you guys think? Did you have a good time? Oh, we had a great time. We loved it. Would you be interested in any more cards, or how do you want to do it? No, we're good. We're just probably going to cancel this card when the annual fee comes due. And we had a great trip. And that's what, for them, the great trip was $95 annual fee and a free trip to Hawaii for their honeymoon. So that's great. And they had a great time, and I'm so happy they did. You and I kind of took a little step into the water, and then now we're
now we're
one
pretty card
deep
is not
in it,
enough.
right? One,
20,
yeah,
20,
exactly.
20 cards are not enough. We're going to
No.
keep on going.
No.
Yes.
No.
The offers continue too. You recently signed up for the Avianca Life Miles card, right?
Oh yeah, Avianca, Banco de Popular
de Puerto Rico.
de Puerto Rico. That's right. That's
even more with it. So even being in this for several years, you still find new cards to sign up for. 60,000 miles here, 50,000 points there, $500 sign up bonus. It just keeps coming and coming and coming.
It certainly does. If you make some connections, make some friends, know where to look. The most recent application for me, 3 different cards, and was approved for all of them. So even with a number of cards already in my stable, if you will, to borrow a phrase from our friends at I think from Milenomics, because I know that's one thing people get worried about, right? I'm gonna get so many cards, I'm gonna ruin my credit. I'm not gonna be able to apply for any more. I'm not gonna be able to get a good car loan. I'm not gonna be able to refinance my house or get a good mortgage. And that's just not been my experience. How about you?
Right.
Have you run into people that are concerned about that?
Yeah, I've heard about that a lot, but really we're only seeing a few points, maybe 2 to 5 point dip in our credit score, and that comes back over time as we're responsible with our credit. We're making payments in time, right? We're still getting the cards, and I also see that there are significant diminishing returns, that once we have a credit score in the mid 700s, is there really quite an upside of having that 800 plus credit score? I don't find it to be worth it, at least to the point that I would stop applying for cards just to get a high credit score that's doing nothing for me.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. There's an opportunity cost to go from, at least for you and I think for most folks that are interested in this game, to go from 750, 775 to 800s, and that opportunity cost is all those cards you could get. That will drop your average age of credit, will also increase your total credit line such that your regular spend is much lower utilization, right? So it has a little bit of a balancing out impact. I think you've told me this, or I think you're the one that told me this. What good is a high credit score if you're not using it?
Absolutely. We can have all kinds of statuses and things that we might want, but at what cost? That's right. If we could keep applying for cards and get all these points, all these miles, these cash sign-up bonuses, it's certainly going to offset that little dip that's really doing nothing for us, except for perhaps people who are looking to get a mortgage or some loans. That might have something to do with it. I don't think most people are in that situation. In that case, they could just wait a little bit and then do what they need to do.
Yeah, I've heard that, and I'll share my personal experience. So N equals 1 here, right? But my wife and I were just traded in an old car, the 2005 version, and picked up a new car. Really excited about it, and so was a little worried because I'd been continuing applying for cards, and my wife is nice enough that if she allows me to apply for cards, or help her apply for cards, I guess legally I should say, choose the cards that she should apply for and that sort of thing. And we got a new car loan, really low rate, because our credit scores were so good, despite the fact that we have, of course, multiple inquiries in the last 6 months, 12 months, 24 months, whatever sort of time frame you want to look at it, going back probably 3 to 4 years. And it didn't seem to have really any measurable impact on our ability to procure more credit. And as a bonus, I got to put the down payment on a credit card.
There you go. Another sign up bonus or a big rebate, right?
Absolutely. Another
at least 500 in value.
Yeah, another win in the war on happiness. By gosh, we're fighting back, Justin.
Yes, the war on happiness is definitely afoot. All right. That's a good thing, because some people will just be using cash, checking account, whatever, to do this and not get the discount. They're paying this extra tax on life by not getting the rewards and missing out on all the opportunity. Yeah,
I saw some folks in the car dealership. They have all the folks you have to sign on the thing, and people are writing checks, and I'm thinking,
oh no,
could I get them to write me a check and I just pay for their car with my credit card too? But my wife said that would be embarrassing, so I decided against it.
Yeah, even if you're not going to apply for more cards for whatever reason, at least get some rewards on your purchase, not just using cash and debit and losing out on all of that. Another thing that people are concerned about starting out, they don't like seeing the annual fees on cards. They're hesitant to pay an annual fee. I look at the annual fee as an investment, especially some of these smaller ones are easier to justify in that, oh, look, I'm paying $100 for the annual fee, but I'm getting 60,000 points, and that's going to be at least worth 600. So I'm already up 500 just on that, just signing up for the card.
Yeah, that's how I feel too. The high annual fee cards may not be for the beginner, especially some of these transferable points, because what happens is you get the transferable points, you pay the annual fee, and then you're still a little bit in the, oh, what now phase? How do I take these transferable points? What program do I transfer them to? It's still a little bit of the indecision and, or analysis paralysis. And if you don't know kind of, okay, if I want to fly here, here's the points I want to use. If I want to fly there, there's the points to use. What are the sweet spots and so forth? And so some of the cards, it's easy to maybe cash out. You can use the good old Amex Platinum Schwab and cash out your membership rewards points at 1.25 cents or, so there's lots of options there to, again, for a starter card. Probably the two easiest starter cards are the Capital One Venture card and the Barclay Arrival, right? So both have pretty good sign-up bonuses typically and would net $500-$600 in value just off the sign-up bonus, and would allow you to basically just erase or use those points for a statement credit for travel. They're probably not the first cards I'd recommend buying, applying for, but they are very simple and straightforward cards.
Right. I'm still in the Chase Sapphire preferred camp, especially given Chase restrictive 524 rule that I've talked about, right? If you open 5 accounts and they're reflected on your personal credit report in the last 24 months, then you're locked out. So I'm looking at a longer term strategy of trying to get those cards first before you get locked out. It's a strategic thing. We're not just applying for any card that we see or any piece of mail that comes in and, oh, look, PNC is offering me $150. Like, no, that's a very bad offer. Don't just do that just because you bank there, or just because you're familiar with the brand.
Or I'm at Best Buy and I have to buy a new computer monitor, and they'll let me finance this $400 monitor on a Best Buy card, and all I have to do is sign up. I think that's where your expertise, Justin, really comes in for someone that's new to the game. You can get to know them and what their goals are through your questionnaire, and then really tailor a card strategy to them. 1 card, 2 cards, 3 cards down the road. What does that look like? And I'm with you. I think the Chase Sapphire Preferred is a great starter card. Great sign-up bonus. Can use the points either as cash through their portal or transfer them. I know, again, you're a big fan of the Hyatt transfer. Yeah. And what a great, and why not? What a great opportunity that is.
Yeah, the Hyatt stays are wonderful at only 5,000 points a night for the Hyatt House and Hyatt Places that are considered Category 1. So with the 60,000 points just from the sign-up bonus, that's 12 nights. And people are usually paying between $100, $150 for hotel rooms. So the value on that is really, really good for those with the Hyatt locations in their area, or if they're traveling and they could use accommodations there.
And for family travel, we really like the Hyatts because they typically will have 2 queen beds plus a pull-out couch. And so my wife and I and 3 kids, that allows us to all spread out without having to get 2 rooms. At some point, I'm sure the kids will be big enough that they'll want 2 rooms, but for now, still content to just 1, and what tremendous value it provides to use 5 or 8 or even 10,000 Hyatt points, ultimate reward points to secure one of those rooms.
Right, and you'll be going to Las Vegas and staying at a Hyatt property out there.
That's right. Silverton Village, I think it's called.
Yeah.
And so just a short shuttle ride away from the Strip, where we'll be, again, celebrating with our celebration dinner. But
annual celebration.
And again, 2 queen beds, pull-out sofa, free breakfast. Really, I think the hotel's only about a year old. Yeah, and conveniently located across from where my daughter's gymnastic competition will be. So probably still rent a car because we'll want to do some other activities while we're in Vegas. And this may surprise you, but 8, 10, and 12-year-olds, not a lot for them to do on the Strip. So we've been out there before for spring break a couple of years back and really enjoyed some of the outdoor activities in the area. We'll probably do something like that again. So a rental car makes a big difference.
Right, and that annual celebration dinner is great because you can get it in 2019 and then get it again in 2020 before the status expires at the end of January. So you get to double dip.
That's right. double dip. My youngest really likes sushi and sashimi, so might have to check that out for the celebration dinner.
A lot of Japanese. Yeah.
Yeah. And then
that was Harrah's in Atlantic City. Oshi. It was $100 that I used there. It was actually very hard to get to the $100. It really was. And most items on the menu like $15-$20. So even between two people, it was difficult to get to that $100 mark.
My youngest is like a sushi connoisseur already, so we'll just feed her sashimi until she busts or until we get to $100. I think we won't have too much problem getting there. And then hopefully we have the opportunity to re-status match again after January, run it again. And
I'm not holding out on it. trying to use the benefits while I still can, as I'll be traveling to Atlantic City again at the end of October.
Absolutely.
Trying to use that diamond status to also waive the resort fees. So when I go to Atlantic City, when I go to Vegas, I don't have to pay the extra $30-$35 a night. What a savings that is for just one card, one annual fee. That's easily paying back.
Yeah. And free valet parking, or even if it's not valet parking, free parking if you prefer to park yourself. That's a big deal in Vegas and Atlantic City both. So really a lot of value in that status match. And like you say, from one card you get 4 or 5 different status.
The annual free stay, right? So I'm looking at Hawaii for using those certificates. How have you used annual free night certificates in the past?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's kind of whatever fits into our schedule. So the single nights here and there, we've used them for again, gymnastic meets where they might be a couple hours away in the early competition. So we'll spend the night before, or late finish. We'll spend the night of. We've used them in New York City. We've gotten to the age where we try to give our kids experiences more than actual gifts, physical gifts, although they get plenty of those as well. And so this past year, my oldest went to see Harry Potter, my middle daughter, Cirque du Soleil, my youngest, Wicked, and those were all up in New York. And so wanted to spend the night on most of those, and were able to redeem some Marriott certificates, a Hilton certificate, maybe 2 Marriott certificates because my wife has a card too. Two-player mode.
Yeah, that's a big help, as you mentioned. If you have a significant other, a spouse, someone you can trust, and they sign up for cards and you share the rewards together, getting these sign-up bonuses twice, because with so many issuers, you can only get a sign-up bonus once, at least every few years, or at least once every 12 months, or different restrictions, different banks, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's, again, where your expertise comes into play to time that out, right? So if we know this card has a 24-month or 48-month restriction, then we want to slot that in earlier to start that clock versus maybe this card through, hypothetically speaking, some mailers would provide you an invitation code that would allow you to continuously apply for a card, despite you're currently having and previously had dozens of those cards in the past, right?
Right. Of course.
Hypothetically, of course.
Yes.
That's one of the cool things about this hobby and this space, I guess, is you meet lots of people from lots of different backgrounds, different jobs, different places geographically, little different places in their lives. And some folks that are young and just starting out with no kids, some retired with grandkids, but everyone really likes that puzzle. That seems to be the common thread that everyone really enjoys, the opportunity to really dig in and see how can I play the angle here and get a little more value, maybe take one more trip, or take a trip that would have been once in a lifetime, or maybe once every 5 years, and get to do it once or twice or even 3 times a year if you have the time off work.
Right. That's great. And that's a good point in that the community has people from all walks of life. It's not just these people making 6 figures, working these really high paying jobs. People can get the credit card rewards and have these experiences that would otherwise be very limited to a certain part of the population.
Yeah, I think one really cool thing is, in addition to maybe taking a more luxurious trip than you would have otherwise, not being in the points game, or taking more trips. I know one of the guys I really enjoy hanging out with at these meetups is Jeff Brownson, and he's a moderator over at Word Travel 101 now. he never flies in the front of the plane, always economy, because what he really wants to do is take as many trips as he can. And so the way he maximizes points is flying economy, right? Other folks I know, to suggest that they would even consider flying economy is a deep, dark insult that you may never recover from, right? Like, why would you even consider such a thing? Even if you're only traveling once or twice a year, the really cool thing about some of these credit card sign-up bonuses and benefits especially is the lounge access, right? So, or being able to redeem miles for a business class instead of economy class. So now, instead of thinking about your vacation starting when you get to the destination, well, I'm going to go to Florida for vacation, or I'm going to go to Cancun or wherever. Now the vacation can really start when you get to the airport, right? Because you can go hang out at a lounge and have a free drink or two, have something to eat.
Yep.
Maybe then you can go on the plane. And if you're in business or first class, right, they take care of you pretty well, right? They serve you a drink. They give you a snack. If it's a long haul and a typical foreign carrier, sometimes domestic carrier, maybe it's even a lie flat seat and you can sleep on the way and help offset some jet lag. So there's this opportunity to start your trip the time you get to the airport instead of, being stressed at the airport, being stressed getting on the plane, and then not really relaxing until, hours later when you arrive at your destination.
That's great. And I'm excited to even get to the airport, to get there early for the lounge access, using my business platinum card, getting into the Delta Sky Club when I fly Delta, the Centurion Lounge, both in Philadelphia, and even intentionally taking 2-hour layovers rather than just like 30, 45 minutes and rushing between the planes. And we get to skip the lines at security with TSA pre. It's a big help.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, TSA pre-global entry. I know you had a positive experience with that coming back from Greece recently.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, just scanned at a kiosk. Guy asked to see a certificate that printed, and I was good to go. So lots of time saved. It's really nice to have all the benefits from credit cards that people would usually have to pay for.
Yeah, $100 for that usually every 5 years, and almost every travel card that has an annual fee will have that. I mean, my wife and I, between the two of us, have enough to offset all of our families, all 5 of our. And so, you come back and instead of looking at the immigration line and thinking, oh, it's been a long trip and you're back and you're tired and you don't really want to go to work in a couple of days or maybe the next day, instead of having to stand in that line, you just scooch right over to the kiosk, put your fingerprints on, the camera takes a picture and off you go.
Good. You mentioned when you started, you made some mistakes in not applying for the right cards or taking a cashback option instead of points. Are there other tips that you would have for people new to the hobby, things that they should avoid or things that they should do?
I think like I said earlier, the big thing for me is setting a goal. So what's my goal in signing up for this card? Because one of the mistakes I made was I just went out and signed up for all the best, initially maybe signed up for all the best offers that were out there, kind of whatever came up on the credit card blogs that I was reading. Oh, here's a great deal. Here's a great deal. Here's a great deal. And I very much fell into that. I don't say trap, but that way of thinking, just grab the best deal available. I had some goals. We ended up, one of our first points and miles trips was to Peru. And, we went to Machu Picchu. We went to, the Amazon rainforest, and we did everything on points and miles. And initially I had this big pile of points and miles and various different programs. And then I had to sort of figure out, okay, what fit where can I make work? And then once I had that goal, then I could add on a adjacent card. The old Starwood guest preferred card was great. We stayed at the Tambo do Inca in Urubamba, Peru, one of the nicest hotels we've had a chance to stay in as a family. They just spoiled us rotten, and what a beautiful place. It had a train station right next to it that we could catch to go to Machu Picchu. So just a lot of positive things about that place. But that wasn't part of my initial sign up because I didn't have that goal. And I also missed out on a lot of the chase cards. I have the Freedom, I have the Sapphire Preferred, but didn't get any of the inks. So every time I see a Staples or a Office Max deal come around, it still burns a little bit inside. Everyone's talking about maxing out their inks.
Yeah, well, hopefully you could still get the Barclays JetBlue cards if you don't already have those to get the 2x office supply and the sign-up bonus. That's what I look for. People think about categories. Oh, I want to get this back on gas. I want to get this back here. But I'd really recommend the cards that have the great sign-up bonuses and the categories. It could be nice to have the best of both worlds.
Absolutely. And when you're first starting out, those cards are available to you, the best of both worlds, because if you have pretty good credit, you have are good candidate for some of these higher tier cards. Yeah, don't settle. Don't go for one or the other. Get the one that's going to give you the biggest bang for your buck. That's going to be a high sign up bonus. That's going to give you ongoing benefits, and it's going to provide you access to the Centurion Lounge, access to the Sky Club, all those sorts of things.
Great. Which cards are you looking at now?
I'll be applying for a City AA, the good old American Airlines Platinum card, pretty shortly here. Not sure what else I will be pairing with that. I think you had mentioned I really need to look at the Wells Fargo business card, and I need to get some work
Business
done on
Platinum.
that. Business Platinum, yep. I have the Wells Fargo Propel, and my wife has the Visa version. I forget what it's called. But it allows us to merge our accounts and then redeem the points for 1.5 cents per point.
Visa
The signature.
yeah.
Visa signature. Thank you, Justin. That's exactly what I was looking for. That's exactly right. So that's been a good deal. Again, player 2 mode. One person gets Propel with the big sign-up bonus. The other one gets a Visa signature, with a smaller sign-up bonus, but the higher redemption values there, or multiplier. Uplift, I think is the terminology. Yeah. Looking at a couple other cards, I got a mailer from Hilton that would suggest that I could sign up for their very basic Hilton. I don't know what it's called. It used to be called the Surpass card, but I don't think it's even that anymore. When it used to be
the no annual fee one?
The no annual fee cards, yeah. Hilton Honors, no annual fee. 100,000 Hilton points for $1,000 in spend.
Wow.
Seems like a pretty good deal. And I don't think I've had it through Hilton. I had it when it was a Barclays card.
Oh, you mean through Amex? You haven't had it
Yeah,
through
it's an Amex card now. I have to think about who had it before. Someone will be yelling at their phone right now, screaming what the right bank was. But a few years ago, they transferred over. And so I have not had it as Amex. So I'm wondering if Amex doesn't think that I've had the no annual fee card, and so I can apply again. The targeted offer, they gave me a targeted offer, so it's hard to say no to that. As you know, most times when you apply through Amex, it's not a hard pull. Most times when you have an established account with Amex, it's not a hard pull. Am I right on that?
Right.
Soft pull? Yeah.
Yep. Yeah,
so,
not a hard inquiry. It's just a soft inquiry. Yep.
Yeah. So I'll probably fire that off and with that and see what I get. What other cards should I be thinking about?
Yeah. The Wells Fargo card, another thing to mention about that is that it just requires that you have the checking account. At least in my experience, I got the pre-approved in-branch offer, and that was not a hard inquiry. It didn't appear on my personal account, so that was really wonderful. It was just a total freebie. Spend 3,000, get 50,000 points, 0% intro APR, no annual fee, and then you get a bonus 1,000 points every month if you spend $1,000. And the points are good for travel. If you use them for the optimal redemption, it's 1.6 cents per point. So nice things coming out of Wells Fargo. I saw an increased offer on a City Expedia card of all things.
Ooh,
haven't heard much about that. This is October 23rd we're recording. Yeah, City
50,000 Expedia points. Is that correct terminology there?
I think they're points or rewards. Yeah. So that one looks pretty good. Maybe some more cards of Barclays if you can get them. As I mentioned, the JetBlue cards are really strong. There's a 50,000 point sign-up bonus on the JetBlue business card. And if you spend a certain amount, you get their top-tier status Mosaic.
Is that calendar year, Justin? Do you remember, or if that's a card number year?
I'm not sure off the top of my head. It's the cards that I don't have that I know the least about. You would think that, right? Yeah. I'll get there, though. But it's nice, though, because many people cover the topics, and you could look at the card in the page itself, but for every card, there are different bloggers, different writers covering them and talking about how you can use the cards.
I think the Frequent Miler does a nice job of outlining what the best offers are and kind of getting an idea of what's out there and how they compare to previous offers. And then oftentimes I know you can get as good as or better offers through referral links, whether that's Amex or sometimes Chase even provides those. And I know that's something you've been able to do. You and I have traded a few referral links over the last year or so.
Yeah, we got the business gold card, which is really good for the first year, right? That was the 50,000 point sign-up bonus. And then if you refer from the business gold and someone signs up for a card, it's additional, I think it's 20,000 membership rewards just for referring someone. So Amex is really, really generous with the referral systems. So always use a referral if you can, and if you're getting a good offer compared to the public offer. I know the Delta bonuses were up, but it was like 80,000 points for the Business Platinum Delta card. But sadly, through the referral, it was only showing, I think, 25,000 when I was looking. So that one wasn't a good one. No,
that's not a good spot to be. Hard to give up all those Delta. People call them Sky Pesos, but they've had a little more value here lately.
Yeah, I've had a lot of good redemptions. The round trip to Vegas from Philly was about 20,000 miles, and recently there was that Delta Vacations promotion where you can book air, hotel, and rental car, or just air and hotel, or I guess some of the others as well, the other combinations. But I got around 20,000 miles for the flight and the stay to Vegas, staying there for 4 or 5 nights. So that was good that they threw that in.
Yeah, it's a great redemption. One of the mistakes I made at first is, like I said, I was grabbing the best deals, but they didn't really fit together. So if especially if you're in one player mode and you want to travel with a partner, or your friends or even your kids, and you can't convince your spouse to go along with you, or to do it with you actively, or for you to help guide them in the right direction. It's like having a lot of different currencies, but you're only in one country, right? So if I'm in the States, I can spend dollars, but I can't spend, pesos or euros or whatever. And that's how it is. Sometimes you'll see people want to, hey, I have all these American airline miles. How do I use them to book a flight on Delta? That does not work. You're not going to do that, So if you have 20,000 American miles and 15,000 Delta miles and 17,000 Alaska miles, that's not going to be a big help. The one thing I will say is don't be afraid to book one ways. I think especially as your travel becomes more flexible, or you have the opportunity to be more flexible with your travel, I always try to book one ways. That way, if one flight, you have to change one flight, I don't have to change them both, and we can save on transfer or change fees, transfer fees, that sort of thing. And that's a nice tip. But I think you want to set a goal and then concentrate in one currency to make sure that you're maximizing your ability to redeem from that currency, and not spreading it over 3 or 4 or 5 different currencies, where then it's hard to merge it all together to get the redemption that you want.
Yeah, that's a good tip. Instead of just looking for the round trip, you can look for multiple one ways, even using different points. And rather than just having all these different points hanging around, you could deplete the balances. If you have maybe 15,000 and the flight is about 14, okay, that could seem to be a good opportunity. And we're doing a little bit of math too and seeing what the best value is. I remember I was looking at someone planning a trip flying from Seattle to Pennsylvania, and there were different options. You could use the Chase points through their portal and get the 1.5 cents per point with the reserve card, or you can transfer the miles to Southwest and then take the Southwest flight. So there are a lot of different ways to do it, and seeing, okay, well, how many points would I need to use to book this, to book that? What if I did the round trip? What if I did the one way? What if I took points from a different thing? So it's a puzzle, right? I like it. I find it fun. It's cool to figure out, sit down, look through the options, optimize.
Yep, that's what spreadsheets are made for. Put them all in there, look at some different options. And we had the same experience recently with booking our flights to Vegas. Ended up flying out on Southwest. It's great for family travel. And when you have kids, no one wants to sit by you anyway. So that's never a risk of getting a middle seat type thing. And had some miles to burn and some gift cards from some credit card benefits. And then flew back American. We're going to fly back American. So it looked at a lot of different flight options. Looked at the Delta Vacations. Wasn't as good a fit for us because the hotel gets a little weird when you have 5 people in there. They don't like to put 5 people in a room. But
stuffing everybody in.
Yeah. They wanted to put us in the penthouse at one of the upscale. Anyway, it was the Delano. Yeah, it was going to be like, I don't know, 2,500. Probably wasn't really the penthouse, but it seemed like it to me. It was like 2,500 a night. I'm like, yeah, it's probably not.
$2,500 a night.
Yes, factually correct. Wow. Yes, 2,500, not points, U.S. dollars. So that wasn't really what we were looking for. Yeah, maybe another time with a different group of people would have been a lot of fun, but not this trip.
Not that situation. But we'll see. The Delta Vacations promotion might be back, and surely we'll find many other nice ways to redeem our points and miles.
There always are good deals, and it's crazy. More and more, someone will uncover another sweet spot. Oh, you can fly. Well, the classic example is the transfer of city thank you points to Turkish miles and smiles, right? And
lots of happy moments.
Lots of happy moments there. Definitely winning the war on happiness in that instance. So, 7,500 round trip in the quote unquote continental U.S., which Turkish thinks also includes Hawaii, even better. And that I'm sure that had been known by a select few for a little while, but was publicized widely more recently. And there's lots of other sweet spots out there that get talked about. A round trip on Air Morocco. In economy for like 22,000 miles, so really cheap stuff, 44,000 in a life flat business, right? So lots of options, lots of sweet spots, and they just keep coming. People keep digging in the charts. The charts get updated. They say invariably it's an enhancement, Justin. It's always an enhancement.
New feature for the benefit of customers.
Yes, obviously for our benefit. Doesn't seem like that at first, but what it just is, it's a different puzzle, right? It's like someone shuffled the deck and handed it back to you and said, okay, now find the aces. Yep. Challenge accepted. We can do that.
All right. Anything else towards our closing time here?
That's all for me. Sure appreciate you having me on. I've enjoyed listening to the previous podcasts and look forward to listening on some more.
Thanks. And where can people find you online? Or are there certain groups that you're in that you would recommend people find you?
Absolutely. I'm not probably as active online in Facebook groups as other folks, but there's certainly some great ones out there. Richard Kerr is now in TPG Lounge. That's a pretty interesting group to get in. There's some entertainment value in there, and there's some good knowledge too. I mentioned the Award Travel 101 group. I think that's a fantastic group, much more community oriented, really a lot of folks in there that are knowledgeable and willing to help with some pretty basic questions. The moderators, I know quite a few of them, and they're good folks. It seems like many of the other thing I really like doing is listen to podcasts like this. There's some other podcasts out there, Observation Deck with Joe Chung and Trevor, Mileonomics podcast.
Savorosity Observation.
Savorosity. Yeah. Thank you. Those are some places that I would recommend folks joining, reading, listening to get some more information. Myself, I'm on Twitter. I'm on most of the social media platforms under usually not very creative names. Darren Remsburg on Facebook. Darren Remsburg on Instagram. Darren Remsburg, Darren is Darren. Remsburg is R-E, M as in Mary, S as in Sarah, B as in boy, U-R-G. I work on the phone for a living, so I'm used to putting those phonetics in there.
But that wasn't the official one, though. Wasn't it B for Bravo?
Yes. What is? I can't remember what M is. S is Sierra, B is Bravo. Yeah.
Yeah. So someone at a recent event that I attended was making fun of Delta customer service, not saying D for Delta. How did they mess that one up?
What did they say?
Yeah, that's the bigger question.
That's
right?
the question. Right?
There was no follow up on that one. There was no follow up.
And it would be kind of a little bit of Freudian slip if they said D for dog, and they could have said D for Delta, right? Not great customer service there.
Not D for a different airline.
Yeah. Let's see. Where else can you find me? Twitter at VPI VET. So I'm a veterinarian by trade. I work for I graduated from Virginia Tech a number of years ago. So VPI Vet on Twitter. I don't tweet very often, so don't expect a lot.
Very good. And it's Milenomics again, as we mentioned, and they have a Slack page or a Slack group that we're both involved in. So if you go to their page, go to their Patreon page and subscribe, you'll have access to that group, as there's daily chatter, lots of valuable information there for sure. I wouldn't be able to figure this all out on my own, so it really helps to be part of online communities and discussions. It's a lot of information.
There's a lot to read out there, and then there's still good questions to ask. I was asking you a question about sort of a niche reward that I'll probably post in the Slack group later. And that group has really grown over the last 2 or 3 months. I can hardly keep up with the messages now versus some of the other Slack groups that I've been in that have been just nonstop. And this one's been really grown, and the depth and breadth of knowledge has grown as well. So I really look forward to the messages that are in there.
All right, great. Any other trips before Vegas coming?
Maybe. My wife has indicated we're going to Florida for Thanksgiving, so I'm not sure kind of options we'll have there for flying from Philly to Tampa area around Thanksgiving. We're getting pretty close, but we'll see. We'll see what can get done there. Then Vegas in January, and we just booked Iceland for next July and August.
All right.
My kids take turns picking the big trip, so this was the middle child's trip, and so pretty excited about that.
All right, really cool. And once they're old enough, they'll have their own cards, huh?
Yeah, I can't wait for that. 12, 10, and 8, so actually 12.5, 10.5, 8.5. So just a few more years, and we'll have them as official authorized users on some cards, building their own credit, right? And then after that, we'll have them applying for their own cards in player 3 or 4 or 5 mode, and they can start paying for their own trips to far off destinations.
And that's a good tip for listeners too, that if you're added as an authorized user to someone else's account who's responsible with their credit, that could boost your score as well.
That's absolutely right.
All right. Very good. Thanks for coming on today.
My pleasure, Justin. Good to be here. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thanks for listening, and stay tuned for more content. Visit my website at hurdygurdytravelpodcast.com, where you can read episode transcripts, complete a free credit card questionnaire to receive tailored recommendations, view helpful resources, listen to past episodes, and contact me. Support my work through Patreon, PayPal, the Cash App, and referral links by visiting the Donate tab on my website. Subscribe on YouTube, like on Facebook, follow on Twitter, and follow on Instagram. Visit my other podcast project at stoicsolutionspodcast.com, where you can find practical wisdom for everyday life inspired by the ancient philosophers of Greece and Rome. Thanks to generous patrons and fans of my work. Have a great day.